Fucking with your best friend, but we break shit. Fucking with your best friend, but we break shit. Fucking with your best friend, but we break shit. Fucking with your best friend, but we break shit. Fucking with you, fucking with you, fucking with you.
We may have had a difference. We may have had a difference.
Slow it down. I show that I live right, and I'm never gonna let you out of my sight. I've been knocked out, was a nice try, but I guess I get to keep my head on this time. God of the creation, the relations I've got, the only one that keeps me safe, the only one you should trust. For sure, it ain't right that I have checked the speck of dust from all of its sides. Fall down, that from my height, cause I didn't see the plank I have in my eye. What you hear in yourself when no one's to be found? What keeps you eased out? What takes you off your mind?
Guess you want this, I want this. Everybody in this, we should have it. Stop illusions, it's in your hands. Show yourself, reveal it to them. Take the time to recognize it. You won't leave me even if I tried it. You're the artist in the mess and happily perform the new in your hands.
Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette. Yeah, ride around the city with a stick all black. Try with a stroke, but we ain't with all that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Made $1 million and I can't go back. Got a lot of jewelry on me, man, you can't hold that. 12 asking better, tell him that I ain't so crack. Know your money long when your people can't afford that. I'm ballin', yeah. My mama told me that did my calling. I keep that stick, I don't do no brawling. Open out the doors and let them all in here. Yeah, they all in here. Ooh, big dog. We come out the pound, so we big dog. Heavy paddock on me, break my wrist off. I'm young out of rocket, about to lead dog. 3, 2, 1, I got big dog status, I'm a big dog vet.
What is up, entrepreneurs? Welcome back to the Friday Live Helpcast with me, your hostess, the mostess, Diana Gladney. This week, we're doing what I'm calling the camera clinic, which is, all right, so that means we need a little coffee up here in these real and digital streets. Let's get some beats going, get the groove set for today. I'm super pumped and excited and pleased to be here, as I always am, with you all here for the Friday Live Helpcast. So if you're new to the Helpcast, this is where today we're bringing it back, where you can call in live. And so if you're having an issue, then you can join at the link, which will be for these camera clinics, will be /link/join live. Diana.link.link/join live. If you want to, once I open up for that, then we'll do that. Okay. But right now the join link is not available because we got some other stuff to get into just yet. But just so you know, it's there. Okay. So we're going to be kicking that off today. In addition to some other things that I've seen, some other questions, complaints, turn my volume up, for the community around camera stuff. I'm seeing a lot of stuff particularly in the Ecamm Facebook group. And so I want to jump into those and cover some of those questions, issues, or whatever. Then, of course, you can drop whatever questions, even if it's not necessarily camera related or whatever, could be relating to something else that you're dealing with. We're going to cover that on the Friday Live Helpcast. So I'm really excited because over these past couple weeks, I had a few updates, a few things that have happened on the back end of stuff as far as the business is concerned. And finally, kicked off my brand new newsletter, which I call Creator News Weekly. And so what that is a weekly newsletter in English, a weekly newsletter where we go into different stuff when it comes to what's the latest tech that's relevant in the space. We go into copywriting tips in Copywriting Corner. How about I show you instead of describing it and give you a little bit of an example of what that looks like. So over here, this is an example of the newsletter. You'll see like we got the intro or what have you section or what have you, but the basic sections that are in every newsletter is the first one is tech check. I really need to sip on this coffee. Is tech check. Then we get into the copywriter's corner, which for me has got to be definitely one of my favorites. Save tech check because we could talk about cameras and all the nerdy bits. And then we go into the copywriter's corner. And so what that is all about is making sure that when you're writing your email subject lines, when you are writing landing pages, you're doing the written aspects of the work that you have to do as a creator. We go into copywriting strategies there, and then AI Simplified. I love this because this is where we go into our prompt and the prompt libraries, marketing strategies that convert, kind of self-explanatory, and then mindset mastery, which every week, this is my third favorite here. Because as we're going through, so like this was the first issue, we've done 4 weeks of this so far. So if you're already a part of my email community, you can get this. If you want to join for this, you can go to the cnwshow.com. And I'll put that QR code up on the screen in a second. But for the tech check, we're talking about YouTube Shorts, getting thumbnails. Again, this is the first issue. And then guys, as I'm going through these updates, like the news bits, in the first part of the stream, if you got questions, otherwise, drop them in the chat and we're going to open up for the Camera Clinic live. So if you do want to hop on and get your questions answered live, then we could do that. But I do have one question that I want to address that is written first, and then we'll get into that. So tech check, copywriter's corner. This is probably one of my favorite ones that we've shared so far. It came out in the first issue, and then AI Simplified. Go into different stuff, get a prompt that's really good, and all of the sections tie in together. Marketing strategies that convert, on, or what have you. And so I love it. Go to thecnwshow.com if you want to hop in on that newsletter. And then that's my favorite bits about that. But I've been noticing some things getting into the tech side of stuff as we jump in here. What's up, Shraven Kumar? Is that how you pronounce your name? Let me know if that's correct. If not, let me know. Good to see you. Glad that you are here. But I noticed two commonalities in the last two posts that I've seen, at least in this Facebook group. And obviously, I would imagine this is becoming more of an issue. As the smarter cameras get, the less you really have to do. But at the same time, you still want to make sure that, let me put that on the screen. If you want to use the QR code, go to the newsletter. So I'll keep that up for a minute while I go into this other bit. But what I'm noticing is that the more and the smarter cameras get, the better the lenses become, the better everything is with your camera stuff, the less you really have to do. But at the same time, for me, it's these small nuances, these small intricacies about using your camera and your gear to really make it give you the look that you want, especially the look that you have in your mind, and getting your camera to do that. That's the difference. And so I want to share this post that I saw on Facebook that this gentleman was having issues with. So he was saying, this is his look. He was doing a screenshot to show what this looks like. And so for him, he was saying that he has a Canon R7. I guess, I don't know what kind of light, but the lighting looks fine as far as I'm concerned. And he said a very high, he's trying to keep everything up to a high standard, but he has a Canon R7. He has his lights, hashtag all the things. He said, but he's always had bad color balance, and the problems that he's having is not razor sharp, and his face is either red or colorless, and the settings don't look perfect. And then he went further into elaborating that specifically when he's using his live stream program, which in this case is Ecamm Live, same one I use for all of my videos at the desk, and even those that are not. So I use it a lot. Shraven, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm gonna get to you in just a second. But he's saying, like, when he's using Ecamm, basically quality seems to look degraded, and said failing to capture the camera's image. And basically he's saying what the camera is producing, he's not seeing that when he transitions all that stuff to his computer for live streaming. More specifically, when he uses or sees somebody else using something else, their stuff looks good. It could be the same gear. That's a common issue as well. It's like, I have the same gear. I've bought all the things. I'm doing what they say to do, but I'm not getting the results. And he said he feels like Ecamm is the reason why it's compromising his setup. And he's just not getting the quality that he wants with his Canon R7. And he tried using a gray card to adjust his white balance. So let's get into this. And real quick, Shraven, good to see you. He said, been following your content for the past 2 years. Great job. Accidentally seeing your live. Well, I'm glad that you are here. I appreciate you being here and following the content for as long as you have. Appreciate that. Glad you enjoying it and whatnot. So let's get into this. I want to dissect his image a little bit here. So he's saying, like, like I said, he's having issues with getting his face to look right. And if you look at the screen, like, otherwise exposure is not for it looks like the look that he's trying to get. The exposure is not bad. The other thing is that what I usually call the hot spots, the middle part in between, like your eyebrows, forehead, your nose, cheeks, chin, stuff like that. He's not getting any highlights as far as hot spots as far as his face is concerned, which is great. So it's not necessarily like a lighting issue per se. I've seen where people were saying like, oh, it's the background. You should fix the background. Like if you added more color, then you would look better. I got to be honest, none of that really has anything to do with it. This boils down to, honestly, it's a white balance issue, and people don't understand that the white balance actually impacts the hue of your skin more if not as much as the people talk about, oh, the color science. The color science is going to be the overall image of the camera, period. But when it comes to like the white balance is going to get into your face for real. And so I shared this in the community as well, but I'm going to go into this here. So I got the ZV-E10 hooked up and showing the screen so you can see the settings. In the video that I recorded for somebody else in Ecamm Live showing what this looks like, it impacts the hue of your skin. So I could turn this camera around and show it on me, and I might. It just depends on how deep down the rabbit hole we want to go in this specifically. But when you look at your camera's white balance, go to my quick menu, go over here. So my white balance for this camera is set at 4,200 kelvins. That's specifically like the temperature of the light. So most YouTube videos in the tech space, you hear them talk about setting it to 5,000 kelvins, which is like that daylight temperature lighting. And it looks like a white light when you look at it versus a lamp in a house may look orangish. And so it kind of has that tungsten hue. Okay, well, that impacts the way that you look. No different if you put an RGB light on your face, whether that was red, green, orange, doesn't matter. It's going to impact how your skin looks. The same is true when it comes to the light temperature of your lights. So when you look at that, most people do auto. That's cool to a point, and you can lock it, but it means as you go from video to video or stream to stream or whatever, it's not going to look right. So for me, I recommend figuring out what that white balance is, even if you do use auto, or at least take a picture of it so you can see it and know what you should be getting to. And then you go in here to the kelvins, so you can set a custom white balance. And it's the same on any camera, but I'm just showing it on the Sony ZV-E10. And it has a right directional arrow. Most people go here and they will adjust to go from the 42 to 5,000 or whatever, so they can go up, down, whatever the case is. I believe it's set at 4,200. But what most people don't realize, there's another right directional arrow, and people see that A minus B 0 or G minus M, and it's like M 0.5, and it doesn't mean anything until today. So this is definitely going to help if you notice where your skin tones aren't the way that you want them to be. You don't really look as good as you want to. Maybe it is showing more red. So if we go back to Brother Man over here, his skin is pinkish red. So what's up, JFK Productions? Good to see you. Glad you're here. Saying Blessed White Chocolate Day, everyone. I forgot which is the good chocolate. The white chocolate is the good chocolate, okay? Let's not start. We're getting closer to Christmas, so start living right. Get white chocolate in your Christmas stockings right now, okay? It's the only chocolate that should be in Christmas stockings. Good to see you. Glad that you're here, JFK Productions. What is up, K-Walk Comedy? Good to see you. What's up, Glad Gang, folks? Stan, good to see you, K-Walk Comedy. I'm glad that you're here. Principal Walker in the building. But if you look at his skin, you can tell it's like it's a pinkish red. Now, here's the reality of this. If your skin is actually, like if that you looked in the mirror and that's more or less true to life, but you still want to pull that out, this is where the white balance bit comes into play. And this is an issue, especially if you get sick. You're getting hot or you're getting cold, or you know what I mean? Like, or depending on where you are, let's say you're doing a video in a hotel room, maybe you're next to a window or something like that. Those color casts and those shifts in the light temperature impacts your skin tone. So if we go back to the camera on the ZV-10, like I said, that A minus B and then the 0 or the G minus M 0.5, whatever, that doesn't mean anything to anybody and they don't really understand what that means, like I said, until today. So if you hit the right directional arrow again, it opens up this grid. This grid can change your life, okay? It can change your life because, let me see if I can show just my other, at least but my computer monitor. So that way you can see my desktop image over there is super colorful. So let's just pull this lens cap off. All right, let's get this cable out the way. I'm gonna tilt this up so y'all can see the computer monitor. And real quick, I'm gonna adjust the brightness so we don't have that issue. You get out the way. So let's go out of here real quick and turn the brightness down just so we can see the colors, but more or less a colorful image, right? So if we go back to the white balance, we have 4,200 kelvins. We go over. Most people stop here and they adjust the kelvins here. This is not good enough if it's not working for you. And you notice, like for me, I would notice with Canon. So he said in English, he said he had the Canon R7 and that's what he's using. He looks like he's using a good lens, looks like his light and stuff looks right. So his image, otherwise it looks good. It's not a whole lot left to it, but this is that little bit of stuff left that drives you bananas. And so we're going to help this brother fix his image. Now you go over to the white balance, directional aerial to the right. Same thing. It don't matter. Canon, Nikon, Fuji, it doesn't matter. They all are the same. They all have this setting and it's just about the same. On Canon, I know for a fact it works just about the same. So when you go over, most people don't pay attention to this little grid in the bottom right corner. Okay, you notice how it has, you have more yellowish, greenish to the top right, and then to the left is more green, blue to the bottom, pink to the bottom right. Okay, well, mine says M0.5 because we're going more into the magenta. I'm just using the directional bits on the camera. And so if you adjust, you'll see how just with this image, even though it's super colorful, you'll see how it's casting slightly different image no matter what. It's getting more green, it's getting more blue, it's getting more whatever. This is when you set with the gray card and it'll have, if it has some kind of weird number, something like that, it's saying like, oh, we should probably go and add more pinkish reddish here because of X. But if it's doing that and you don't like it, pay attention to what these numbers are. And you don't have to really know anything about anything, just replicate the numbers on your screen and set the kelvins to what it is. So if my camera says it's 4,200 and A 0.5 and M 0.5, and I'm like, yeah, it's hella pink. My face is not that red. Then what I want to come over here is pull it up 1 or 2 notches. Pull it over to the left 1 or 2 notches. And the biggest issue with this, you want to sit with your face. You want to do a video just like this. For y'all that don't know, newsletter's now available. Pointing the wrong way. Newsletter now available, so I'm gonna leave that up on the screen. Actually, I make that a smidge smaller just because. But if you notice, for my skin tones, you see elements of red. You see like brown, orangish hue. You see pink in my lips or whatever, even in my arms, same type stuff, or if I flip it around. But if I'm not looking the way that I think that I should look, or maybe I'm hot, I'm physically hot, and I'm too red, then I want to go and adjust this so that I don't look crazy. So I'm gonna turn the camera around, the ZV-E10, and I just have the kit lens on here, so nothing special. So where it's like, oh, but what if I don't have? So I'm like, nope, we're just gonna keep the kit lens on. Set this up, face it towards myself. We're gonna get real close and personal here in about 2.32 seconds. So JFK Production said, gotta forgive me, Miss D. I'm recovering from food poisoning. My brain is a bit foggy. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Food poisoning sucks. But I'm glad that you're recovering. You're doing better. You're feeling better. Because that's what it's all about out here in these real and digital streets. Take care of yourself because you only get one you. Okay? You only get one you. All right. So I'm going to adjust these settings off camera real quick just so the brightness is kind of where it needs to be. But take a look real quick what my face looks like. And then you'll see, like, now granted, a better lens does a way better job. It makes you sharper. So if you are using the kit lens and it's not as sharp as you want, you can make some slight adjustments, but not a ton, because it'll start looking more digitally sharp and weird. It starts to look crunchy. The best way I can describe it, you start to look crunchy. It's not what we want, but I'm gonna go through this in real time. So let's switch to, all right, let's switch to, I'm gonna switch to this other camera. So we do this full screen, and I'm gonna take the QR code down so you can see. So this is with the ZV-E10 Mark I with those same ugly white balance. Now, first thing that looks, to me, it looks what I call ashy. And so that means it's not enough color in it. It looks dingy. It's not clear. And I'm looking to the wrong camera because you're here now. It looks dingy and I don't like it. So my skin's, it's like you get some brown, but you're not getting the pink and the reddish hue. So before I go thinking, oh, let me fix picture profile such and such, let me go and do all of that, white balance should be the first thing that you think about when you're making those adjustments. Pro tip on top of the pro tip. I'm looking to the wrong camera again. I'm so used to looking over there. Pro tip on top of the pro tip. When the seasons change, if you get sunlight into your room, consider making a micro adjustment to your white balance. Why? Because in the summertime, you get a lot of sun. The sun has a golden hue to it. So it's warmer, which means your skin tones will look warmer. It'll look more golden and stuff like that. It'll bring out more life essentially in your skin tones. When it's wintertime or it's fall like it is now, you have more overcast days. It's kind of gloomy. And what I call is like kind of black and white, or like on Instagram, they be like, it's the hoa, hoa, hoa type season in fall, which is like from, what's that? Whatever that vampire movie was. I can't think of it now, but it's like I'm thinking Catching Fire. And I'm like, no, that's the Hunger Games. Whatever it is with the vampire, no, not the Vampire Diaries. Whatever it was, the vampires with the Cullens, Bella, that one. So let's fix this white balance. So what we're going to do, pull my white balance back up because everything else is the same, still at 4,200. But what I'm going to do is bring it back to the red. Now, you don't want to make huge adjustments. You don't want to go all the way to the right, all the way to the left. You don't want to do that. It's little notch. And while you're doing these tests, do a video record just like this. Set these settings where you plan to record. Do hashtag all the things exactly where you're planning to be. So I would cut all my lights on just like I have it now. I would, if I have the window open, usually I'm going to try to record at the same time of day. So you're minimizing things being different. So don't do these kind of tests at night if you don't usually make your videos at night. Why? Because if you use sunlight, you're not going to have it. 10 a.m. sunlight is different than 3 and 4 p.m. type sunlight. You know what I'm saying? So you got to think about those micro nuances that go into your video if you use like window lighting to a point, or if it kind of warms up the room or something like that. So when we go in here, what you want to do for the white balance, I would go down just one more. I would go over just one more. Now, it's not a massive change. Again, this is just on the kit lens. It's not a massive change, but I'm starting to see more color to my image. I'm starting to look more myself. So my hand is starting to look a little bit better. So then I'm gonna say, okay, that's cool, but maybe 4,200 is not quite it. Maybe that's a little too cool. So I'm gonna go up one notch. And what I do when I'm actively testing stuff, probably test stuff every week, I will sit and I'll do this recording. It's easier when you just hook it up to Ecamm or whatever it is used to live stream and do it that way. Twilight, that's what it was. Twilight, I'm like the hoa 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 people. It's like the song's like hoa 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 hoa. That one, yeah, Twilight, sparkly mode, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Rickster in the building, good to see you, saying, hey, welcome back, glad to see you, doing great. Well, thank you so much. I'm feeling good, feeling great, and hope you are too. All right, so let's get into this. So I'm gonna go up one. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna record it exactly where I plan to record all the things, right? Okay, well, I'm gonna say in that recording, even though I can see it on the screen, I'm gonna say, okay, I'm at 4,300 kelvins. The numbers in this corner being what they are. Don't pay attention to the books. Mind your business. They ain't got nothing to do with this image. Don't pay attention to the books. Mind your business. All right. Okay. I need a bookshelf now. I'm like, I definitely did one now. Just say these numbers are what it is. And then I'm going to say, to me, on screen, I think it looks normal. So if maybe I have a LUT that I can add on top of this that I like, that will further enhance it after the fact, great. But if I'm doing a live stream or if I'm recording it in Ecamm, I want to get this as close to right in the camera. So maybe I'm going to say, but that's not where we want to be. That's not where I want my base to be. And so for me, I like to get my stuff as close to right as possible in the camera. So maybe I go up one more. And then I say, okay, 4,400 kelvins with these settings being what they are is maybe as much as I want to do in camera. Then for the other lady that was saying that I did a video for in the Ecamm community, she mentioned that she compared like her iPhone for the continuity camera and all that versus her camera. She has a ZV-E10 and she was using the kit lens, and she was like, I can't really justify getting a more expensive lens or what have you. I get you. However, it makes a huge difference. Let's not get it twisted. This looks way better. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's the ZV-E1, because my streaming settings haven't really changed. The quality density, more or less, of it being like 10-bit, whatever, H.265, whatever, it doesn't matter because it's like I'm still streaming. So the quality, I'm using the same lens, same Sony 35 f1.8 lens that I've been using for ever, since like 2019. So everything else being the same, the lens makes a huge difference when it comes to quality. Because if we go back, which you can make the kit lens look better, but this whole purpose of this is just to be for the white balance. But if we come back over here, it don't look terrible, but it also don't look great. So if I take these icons and stuff on the screen, just so you can see it, it don't look terrible, but also don't look great. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you can start to get it to look a little bit better. You can go into picture profile and stuff like that from that point on. But from there, it's like you really just want to make sure you make micro adjustments. So if you have an issue like this gentleman over here, and it's like more or less everything looks good, but it's not looking the way that you want to, it's usually going to be white balance, and it's usually going to be adjusting those adjustments for like the red. So you would pull it out of the red because it's too much. And you should adjust it to taste at that point. It's okay. Why comedy saying, yeah, Twilight. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I know all the characters, listening everything around the movie in the show or whatever, but I'm like, I can't remember. So I'm watching the stream. I'm editing a client clip on the M1 Max MacBook. Saying this is the smoothest Adobe experience in my life ever. Can't wait to experience Ecamm. Man, you don't have Ecamm yet? So if you use the promo code Diana, the number 2 MOS, then that'll get you 2 months for free on Ecamm Live if you haven't tried it yet. And so that way, I recommend don't use the trial to test and experiment. Have something that you're ready to produce with it. So if you're going to record content or whatever videos with it, then use the trial for that. That's the best way I've found with any trial experiences to see how something is going to perform. If you just kind of play around in the software, then it's like, yeah, it's cool, but you won't get the full experience of it, of actually using it until you actually use it. And so use that promo code Diana, the number 2 MOS, then that'll give you 2 months for free trial on Ecamm Live. But speaking of the M1 Max MacBook, did y'all see that Apple has some M4, and they're going to introduce AI, their own AI chip, which if it's ever a time to upgrade, which I have an M2 Mac Mini, and just like, I think like a base model 2016 MacBook Pro from way back. But when we look at what the M2, the M1 can do already, fantastic. So to already be at M4 tech plus AI, honestly, I can't wait, because what I'm most excited about with that is not whatever it comes with. It's the fact that if it's going to be any updates, which finally they're going to be updating Final Cut Pro, then at that point it comes, thankfully it will come on the newer machines. So I think maybe the reason why we haven't been getting as many Final Cut Pro updates and stuff is just because they knew that they were working on developing this in the background, or going to. And it's like, it makes more sense to put the efforts into that new thing coming versus the old stuff, which they just added, thankfully, to Final Cut Pro, the captions, automated captions, which is cool. But the other thing with that is the fact that we already have, most of us, we already have whatever we plan to use for captions. So I'm curious how it's going to hold up, but I'm excited for that. This is now one of those times where I'm like, okay, now I would get some other Mac machines, simply because, number one, I know Ecamm, probably somewhere in the back eon somewhere, is already doing alpha testing with these things. Because I'd highly guess that Ken and Glenn over at Ecamm, the creators and developers over at Ecamm, are going to be like, yeah, we've been testing these machines for whatever, and we're introducing these amazing new tools for it. So for me, M4 Mac Pro, I think I love the, I think the Pro is going to be the way to go. Honestly, I think the Pro is going to be the way to go. Unless you are doing something super techy, super nerdy, beyond that, like you're doing design, AutoCAD type stuff that's really, really process heavy, process intensive and heavy type programming, then at that point, cool. I'm also looking forward to like their AI stuff that they're going to be implementing, simply because like, I think we're in the next level and next generation of computer and phone tech, because we have AI, which I'm just looking forward to, because it's going to be that much easier. And we see some of this stuff on the software side of stuff on the older computers that's out right now, but not having to run to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini for every little thing will definitely be nice. And I already had like some thoughts around different stuff. I want to see the computers. This is the press release, but I want to see the computers. Apple, and pull that up. Because I don't. What's up, Chat Night Africa? Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying we miss you the past few weeks, Lady D. Greetings from Divine at Chat Night Africa. Good to see you. Divine, glad that you're here. So I'm having a fabulous experience with the ZV-10 Mark II. The autofocus is incredible. Watch my show last night to see. Congrats on the new camera, because you did tell me you were gifted that one, which is an amazing gift. So that'll hold you over for a really, really, really long time. So congrats to you on that. It's a dope camera. It's a really dope camera. I have no complaints about it. And honestly, for most people, I say between the ZV-10 Mark II, the A6700, and maybe even the A7C Mark II, is a good base for most people, because it's like a ton of stuff that's out for that. So I think that'll be dope. Want to hit back over to the computer scene because I want to see. Yeah, these are the new ones. And the price looks good in my opinion. So 14 inch is not my jam. But let's just see what the prices are for the 14 inch. So, yeah, 15 or 16, $1,800, more or less. Preferably, I'm going to go to 16 inch, let's say M4 Pro. 25, 29, it's not bad. It's definitely ZVE1 territory. So let's go M4 Pro 14 inch even. Yeah, 2 to 2400. That's not bad. But, excuse me, I think the base models even would be dope. I don't know if I want to do laptop. I would prefer like basically the Mac Mini version of this. So we'll see. We'll see. Are y'all considering, if you're in a new camera buying space, are you considering picking up one of these computers, or is this not your jam? You already have what you need and you're not buying nothing else. So if you got better discipline, I applaud you. At the same time, I think most people will update their computers now. Even if you have a great computer, like my computer is only like a year old, but I think even if you have a great computer, it'd be awesome. And I really tried to give Final Cut a chance. I liked it, but it made managing plugins and packs too much of a hassle. So stuck with Adobe. I remember you asking something about Final Cut Pro. For me, it's simple stuff. When it comes to like the things, here's how I rank when it comes to like Final Cut Pro or whatever. The way that I rank usability is, can I do the basic everyday things that I'm going to do on any edit, anytime I'm opening the app? How easy is it for me to do those things constantly? And are there any issues with those things on a regular and consistent basis? Because if it isn't, then I'm gonna stick with where I'm at. If it is, or you run into this issue, and then two, I get it. Like I said, you with Adobe, you're already in that ecosystem. I'm hard pressed to switch at this point. And if I did switch, I would probably go the DaVinci Resolve direction. But I'm not interested in switching. DaVinci Resolve is dope. Adobe is making some fantastic stuff. I saw some updates coming out of their conference that they just did. It's like maybe a month ago or so. So they have some amazing stuff coming. I just think it's going to be a new age, because once these new computers come out, not just with Apple, but with other companies, and introducing literally true AI type chips, workflows become better, automations become better for me. Even if you look at integrating that kind of stuff with your ALEXA person or Google Assistant type stuff, integrating all of those systems to work autonomously to do some things, again, it just further cuts down on the bulk of stuff that you have to do on a regular basis. So I'm liking the Mini for the base model. Yeah, I hear you. For me, I'm not, only because it's like, if I get the Pro, I know I won't have to get anything else. If I got the base, I'm probably going to be good for probably 2, maybe even 3 years. And then, then it's like, oh, and it'd probably be certain projects where the Pro comes in handy. The way I would like kind of buy devices with that is, can it survive my ideas and my goals? For example, if the ZVE10 Mark II came out at the same time that the ZVE1, and let's say the A6700 dropped at the same time. Let's say they dropped all 3 cameras at the same time. ZVE10 Mark II, A6700, and the ZVE1. Because the A6700, just again, for me, personal experience, personal enjoyment and use cases, I would not have gotten the A6700, even though, albeit in some ways it's a better APS-C camera than the ZVE10. But because it's more creator-centric, the ZVE10 Mark II would be the camera that I probably go for if it had dynamic active stable too. If they both had, or let's say all 3 had a dynamic active stable, or even if they left out the A6700 for whatever reason that is already not in there, then, and let's say the ZV cameras had it, I still would probably go with the ZV-10 Mark II. Simply because the best vlogging lenses, the best everything are on APS-C. So similar with the computers, I needed to survive, not even like the right now stuff that I'm doing, but I needed to survive my future goals. And my future goals, like, can it survive those kinds of things and the things that I may imagine? The answer would be yes. And I think if they all had came out at the same time, like, they would all be great. Similar to how these Macs all came out at the same time. And you can see what's what with whatever. For me, the Pro is that, like the Pro Mini version, whatever it is, basically like a Mac Studio, mini Mac Studio. That becomes the thing that not only works for home use type stuff, but small event, mastermind, in-person training type stuff that is on my goal list of things to do next, then, or down the road, then that is like, okay, I can use that kind of setup for whatever it is that we want to manage, or if I'm doing it. If not, then it kind of don't matter. But if I'm doing it, then I know that I'm like, okay, that survives that idea. That survives those kind of goals and imaginations and the things I may imagine down the road at that point. Where you could probably do it on the base model, but at the same time, it's like, for me, I'd be like, at home, it's probably, base is essential. Like, the base would be more than fine. At home, more than what I would probably ever do with it. Outside of home is where it starts getting kind of tricky or what have you. JFK Production saying, yeah, I preferred stuff just working from me pressing install, not Final Cut wanting me to import this library, that library. I don't remember the startup experience, like just using Final Cut Pro day one. I don't recall that being like needing to do something other than the music, sound effects type stuff. And then when I download plugin packs, effects, because you're either going to have like the transitions and stuff, and then the motion assets or whatever they're called, they're going to go into like one or two folders. So if I'm using a software tool that has where I can get a bunch of stuff, I just get and download all the things that I plan on using. Or if I'm buying packs from a site that does Final Cut Pro plugins and stuff, I'm getting all the ones that I want, downloading the zip files, opening them, and then I drag and drop it to the folder, and then it just does it. So I don't know what that experience is, but that's also with the asterisk next to it that I don't know what your experience is like compared to that. I only know what my experience has been like using other stuff. And I just enjoyed Final Cut Pro more than anything else. Like if I see an image, it's kind of like Ecamm. So for example, I was talking about the newsletter earlier. So if I see this image, I can drag this image however I want to, around the screen, whatever. But for me in Adobe, it would be like, oh, you need to use the X and the Y axis. And I'm like, why? I want to use the X and the Y axis. So, yeah. Saying, God Almighty, I just press render and it's already done. Sweet baby Jesus. The Max is impressive. April K, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying, hey, Danny, good to see you. I'm planning on getting the M4 Pro Mac Mini to replace my M1 MacBook Pro as my main music production computer. Will the M1 MacBook, or will use the M1 MacBook for mobile production? So, are you traveling with that, or is that at home for the M4 Pro Mac Mini? Is that at home use or no? He said you're going to use the M1 MacBook for mobile. So that one, Dave, I'm guessing, is going to stay stationary. For me, I think at that point, like the setup becomes lethal. You know what I mean? Because then you have even more power. Because you also have to think, whatever tools that you're using, whatever programs that you're using, only thing that comes close for digital music experience that I would have would be looking at like from a church backstage tech area type experience, where you have all these different tools running with each other to produce a show, essentially. So mimicking something even close or similar to that, I think that'll be lethal. as well. And then also, like, you think about whatever software programs that you use that update regularly. What kind of stuff are they dreaming up? So now is a great time if they do live streams, like how Ken and Glenn do updates, or if they have a newsletter, hop on it to stay up to what kind of stuff they're dreaming up for that, and go from there. Said, do you think they'll bring the M4 to studio, and when? Yeah, because I say give it a year, if or less, because the one thing about them is Apple's not about like, oh, we're going to cannibalize whatever. That's not the marketplace experience with them and their customer base. They know, Apple knows their people they buy multiple devices, and they'll upgrade their devices or have like the stages of this one's can be excellent, but these are just miles and miles better. So I don't think it'll be long enough for them to figure out whatever marketing stuff they need, how they plan to use it, apply it to stuff. Because you also got to think the new iPhone just came out as well. When they do it, it's going to be a big fanfare. So they are releasing the things, the elements to probably what all will go into that. And then from there, they're going to, it's like, okay, now let's do the big reveal for the Bee's Knees Hall of Fame computer system. So it'll be a while. And I also think, too, people need to feel and see and get jealous and thirsty of what the difference between an M1 and M2 experience has been, which nobody's complaining as far as I can see. Anybody that has an M1 or M2 type experience of any device, they love it. They're happy. They've gotten multiples. You know what I'm saying? So now they have to make your mouth water and say, like, you haven't even scratched the scratch, and to scratch the surface of what this could do, what's possible. And so, like, I think that becomes like that mind-blowing type ceremony thing where it's just like, oh my gosh. So even if it's not in like alpha testing somewhere right now, it's definitely coming. I say a year or less, because you got the phone that just came out. These just dropped, and they're sequentially dropping these out. Probably the iPads will probably be next or whatever. You're going to have not phones, but the watches integrating with all of this stuff. So they're bringing the whole ecosystem up more and more notches. So I don't think it'll be long. They just got to make it look, they just got to make you thirsty for it. Saying, this is a warning. Under no circumstances do you get the nicest Mac for music production unless you're using Logic Pro. The big companies always get shelves months on new releases. You know, the newest Mac, I don't know. To each their own. I can't speak to that for music production. So music people, enjoy. But for me, if it comes to like programs and stuff, unless it's one of those mouth-watering type releases for some firmware updates or software updates past a point, it's like you let the market test that out and figure it out, versus if you have a working system and it's like an update and then you're becoming the beta tester and it's like, oh, it's crashing, it's doing this, you might want to wait before you update. So even if you do get one, just, stay on awares. Saying, yes, the Mac Mini will be stationary in the studio as long as it can handle whatever tools that you're using, which it will, but also look down the road and say, of the companies that I use, of the software tools that I use, who updates the most? And then of those who update the most, how much are they leapfrogging themselves with new releases and stuff like that? So for me, like when I'm looking at a Mac, one of the major reasons though, why I'm definitely going to get one is because I know Ecamm is not shy about introducing new features and making the experience of what is possible immaculate. So I'm not finna be sitting thirsty on the sidelines like, oh man. But I don't expect a whole lot from Final Cut Pro personally. They probably will do something nice, but they have a history at this point and a bad track record of not doing updates. Not anything where it's, they do bug fixes and stuff like that regularly, but they don't do anything. They're definitely like not like how Adobe is, and they're definitely not how DaVinci is, DaVinci Resolve. So yeah, so be careful. Yep, it is. You gotta be careful. Saying I heard the M4 Studio will be coming in May, June 2025. Yeah, we shall see. We shall see. Shivam Dahaya, let me know if that's not the right way to pronounce your name, because it doesn't feel right coming out of my mouth. So let me know the correct way to the correct way to pronounce your name so I can say that properly. But hello, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying, is the Sony ZV-10 kit lens good for low light videography? For example, I shoot videos in the gym where lighting is not so good, but I have this camera with a kit lens. My suggestion when it comes to low light situations or lower light, it's just not as much as like I can set the stage here or whatever. I would recommend getting a better lens. The kit lens is good to learn honestly what better lens you need, because from the range of 16 to 50, because it's not. Case in point, I had this hooked up earlier for something else. So case in point, if you notice, like it says f3.5, this is as low as this aperture can go. And the aperture deals like this number, this f-stop aperture number, that is based on the lens, not the camera. The sensor on the camera is great. It's great with low light, and it actually does do a good job, provided either you have good lighting or you have a lens that can help bring in more light to the sensor. The kit lens does not help it to bring in more light. On the contrary, if somebody's working out, you want to get in a creative shot and you zoom in, it just got darker. It went to an f4.5. And you notice, let me put the icons back on the screen so you can see. When I zoom in, you see it's like I said, 16, 17. And I zoom in, let's say 25 was the focal length that I needed for this shot. Well, now I'm stuck at f4.5. That's as low as the aperture can go. Unfortunately, there's nothing more that I can do to adjust that. It doesn't matter what setting I change. F4.5 is as low as it can go. I can go up, but I definitely can't bring that down any further. So that being the case, it's not going to help me bring in more light. So what am I stuck trying to do now? Now I got to crank the aperture consistently. I don't care if not aperture, I got to crank the ISO. So even if I, let's say 16 is where I pretty much wanted to say, but you zoom in, you zooming out, it's going to get darker the more that you zoom in. So I would say no. However, you can get away with using the kit lens when you have good lighting. So if you're in a situation where gyms are usually finicky, unless this is your client and your client says, bring whatever you need to do the shoot, we just can't have maybe cables running or something like that, then that's when you want to get a cage. And on your cage, you want to have an LED light, even to the extent of, I'm calling her my homegirl. We don't know each other past online. We've never met. Don't even think she knows who I am. But her YouTube channel is called Full-Time Filmmaker. One of the ideas I've seen from her was taking a selfie stick to get range, put a selfie stick on her cage, and she put a light on top of that. She's done like a light and a mic. She's done more lighting videos, more recent, I guess, years or recent videos. And so to get that extra reach while it's still attached to her camera, cage and stuff like that. So either you can do a solution like that, or you can just attach an LED light on your setup. Now, I've used something like that where it was low light, but it was not the kit lens. I used this lens that I'm using here, which is the Sony 35 f1.8. And this is even at f2.8 right now. So you can get away with using the kit lens, but the kit lens is not ideal if that's what you're working with, because the more you zoom in, the higher your aperture becomes, the lower, that means the darker the image becomes. And then the darker your image becomes, the only thing that you can do is either add lighting or increase your ISO. So you're going to be playing with camera settings on the regular. Don't do it. If this is a job that you're getting paid for and you have a client Do both ways. If you're a content creator and you're doing this for yourself, what to do, and if you have a client, here's what you do if you have a client. Bake in the cost of the lens that you want or need for this shoot. Since the ZV-E10, regardless if it's the Mark 1 or the Mark 2, then what I would do is go and look either to rent the lens or look into what it is to go pull up lens rentals while I'm talking here. Either figure out what it is to rent the lens that you want or need, or figure out what it is to buy the lens that you want or need. I would at least get a prime. Something that you know that you're going to use and can work with. Bake that into the cost, not like put lens purchase, itemized, $350. No, because then they be like, I'm not paying for your lens, but include in the service package of whatever it costs for the equipment, the cost of the lens. Then if it's just for, like, if you don't want to buy it or you're not sure, you can rent it. So let's say, let's do the Sony 16 to 35. And let's take a look over at lens rentals, for example. So I'm looking at the 16 to 35. I'm not going to do this newer one that just came out, which is great. But again, whether it's on the Mark 1 or Mark 2 or the ZV-10 don't matter. For me, what I'm going to look for is an f2.8, and I want to look for a zoom. So I can have range in that scenario, because if I need to go past 35, either I need to move in with my feet or I need to use clear image zoom, which will usually get you by. You shouldn't need to do too much. So 16 to 35 f2.8, I'm probably going to look at a similar lens like this, or I'm going to look at something with OSS. So I don't know what lenses they have listed here. I wouldn't do an f4.5 type lens. This is the lens that I use for live streaming. This one right here, the Sony 35 f1.8 OS. I freaking love this lens. It's my favorite lens in the world. Doesn't mean it's right for you and what you're trying to do, because it may be too much. So I would recommend, just go back. I'm trying to think of one that is a zoom that has OSS, but you probably aren't going to get OSS. But if, let's say, I like the Tamron, I would say 17 to 28 even, f2.8. And so if you look at a lens like this, cost is a little bit lower, and you have the 17 to 28 or 28 to 75. And the kit lens is great for one thing at that point, which is when you switch over to it, for example. So when I go in over here, like I was showing over here in the corner, when I zoom in, it'll tell me where I'm sitting at, 25, 24, whatever. So if you plan on going to do a test shot someplace, just go ahead and see what focal range you're using. Get a zoom lens around that. Start at, if it's a zoom lens, f2.8. If you do a prime, then look at f2.8 or lower. If it's for you and your content, pop on a light. Pop on a light, because you're going to set your camera up wherever it is. Get you a small LED light, light panel, and go from there. Add light or use light or face the window or something like that. So do the best that you can to get light. But I would still recommend getting a good lens. And so you can't always account for what the lighting is going to be in a gym, because sometimes they're weird. Sometimes you're facing a corner or whatever. Or the more interesting shot is not the best well lit shot. Get a light. I remember I would do shoots and my camera is here and I'm holding with my other hand. I'm that basically that selfie stick pole, and I'm angling it so I can get it right. And I'm like, okay, I got the setup here or whatever, or a monopod or whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm holding the light here. So you do something like that. So that would be my recommendations when it comes to that. At least when you're trying to do that with the kit lens. Saying absolutely, great points. Thanks. You're very welcome. And shout out also to JFK Productions with that as well. So it's almost like clockwork on new Mac hardware and software OS release. You essentially become a beta tester, and the major music software companies always release their update warnings. Yeah, I'm not trying to be nobody's beta tester like that. Saying I understand because Logic and Final Cut Pro are their property and they're Apple, they never play well with others. Yeah. Shivya saying, Shivam, I think it's right, saying, actually, I have just started creating content for my Instagram page. And I bought this camera by myself, and I don't have much money to buy a new lens because I am a student. Okay, that's fine. So let's say we stick with the kit lens. Still get a little LED light panel. Trying to think of what I think mine is called. Let's see here. Switch accounts. All right, so I'm gonna show you the one that I carry with me every time I travel. So this is what I mean. Like, this is something that you can create. And honestly, for some of these companies that you may see reach out to you, just make sure, again, it's reputable. But let's go over to the Amazon Zons, and I'll show you what to get. So this piece 96 by Small Rig, we actually gave, I think, 2 of those out. Those are super lightweight. Or what have you. That's not the one I use, not the one I take. Those are cool, but this is better. This P96L, this is the one I use and have been using for the past, I don't know how many years now, maybe could be pushing 3 years or what have you. This is the one that I use because it is freaking amazing. Not only is this like a RGB light, it's super small, it's super thin, it literally can fit in your front or back pocket. And the other thing with this is the fact that, like, you'll have on here whatever the light temperature is, because I know the light temperature in a gym type stuff, that it's weird, or it's either lit by the sun. So you can't guarantee from day to day that you're going to have the same lighting. So you can adjust the white balance stuff like I talked about, and you can adjust the what's the name? I have it up over here. Is one of the lights that I use when I'm at home. But I really, really freaking love this. The battery life, incredible. Charges USB-C. I cannot stop gushing about this light. So this is a worthy purchase. And then if you're a student, this is November now, officially. So prepare for seeing some lights that are similar to that even on the after Thanksgiving Day sales. So I'll put a link to this in the chat so you can see it. So if you can't, like, say, it's like, I get it, being a student, listen, the money goes to food.com. So I'll put a link to this lens in the, not lens, but the, what's the name in the chat. Like, this is money that's going to food. This is money that's going to, oh my gosh, textbooks that are ridiculously expensive. And then, you know, I don't know how it does with ebooks now or whatever. It's been who knows how many years since I've been out of school. But if you're using the kit lens, that's fine. Try to stay at 16 f3.5 so you can bring in as much light as possible. Don't over crank your ISO. Start with better lighting, which means if I know that, for me, I have light here, whatever, so I don't have any really good examples. But if I know, well, how about this? Let me not trigger everybody else's stuff. All right, so I just turned off my front LED light. So now the lighting is facing in a whole different direction. So let's say in the gym, you have where the lighting is behind you or it's to the side or whatever the case is. Okay, well, this is where now I would get that little LED light, and I'm going to put this in front of me, or if I can, and it still isn't a bad shot or whatever, face the light. Like, so if you're facing a direction that you thought you were going to film in, but it looks like this, you're dark, it is bright behind you because the lighting sources are behind you, the window or a tube light or whatever. Lighting depends in different, environments. Face the light, face the window. So I would have my camera in front and I would face it that way. So the camera's going to be pointing back this way. Let me turn the light back on. So that way you control the lighting for the setup. And so that it may not look bad or whatever. And then you can start using whatever money you're making from your content to invest. And you probably start getting whatever that stuff is. Brands are super heavy on attention right now, especially as you start building out your content, building out your brand. It won't be long before you have companies reaching out to you. It's like, hey, can we send you our stuff? Do you want to try this and that and whatever? And you're like, okay. You can send it to me. Can't guarantee whatever, content or whatever. Let's just let's say you agree to a contractor or what have you for something and you get paid for it, then you can go from there. So should I buy a light or wait and save money and buy a new lens? You're going to spend that much money that it is for the light on DoorDash. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to blow $20, $30, even if you're not trying to. That's gas station purchases. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like that's going to a Walgreens, a CVS type something. That's easily somewhere in the budget, waste amount of income. $20, $30 for the light. It don't have to be the specific one. If you find something else that's cheaper or whatever, that's just the one I recommend because again, it's reliable. I can use it. It's metal. And pro tip to you, and you could probably go to an office or a counselor's space at school, or even like if they have an art studio or something, and get from them a magnet strip. Because they do designs, they do crafting or whatever. So just go to that part of even if that's not your field, you're like, hey, can I have a magnet strip for my content or whatever? And maybe do an exchange. Like if you give me some glue so I can put on there or a hot glue gun or whatever, then I'll do a video for y'all or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So do an exchange if that's what it is to barter. But most of the time they'll just give it to you. But get from them a magnet strip, hot glue or double-sided tape or something, because that's what I did with mine. So when I'm in a space, like usually it's like a hotel room, I can take that little LED light because the back is not magnetized, but I just have a little magnet strip that I already had, put some adhesive on there. And so now I can clip that to any other magnet type sources. And that'll work for me. So that's another good one, because in the gym, you usually do have different types of metals for the equipment. So that way it's easier to put the light someplace if you don't want to hold it, especially if it's you filming yourself. So get the light regardless. Even if that's a Black Friday sale, that's fine. Get the light regardless, whether it's now or later. But $20 to $30, you're going to blow that someplace, whether it's at the dollar store, junk food, DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever. So I would just say spend it there, but also it's fine to set a goal with your content. You know what I'm saying? You can have a buy me a coffee page or something like that, how people do donations depending on what it is that you're doing, and just go from there. JFK Production saying, I'm so lost now. What do I do with the rest of my day? I'm so used to taking forever to get client clips done. Good question. I'm not going to come up with an answer for you. That's and shoot. But no, you do whatever you would have to do the next day. Everything moves up now, go there. Saying, yeah, most of my money goes into my diet, the gym membership. So if that's the case, swap it up for making, like I said, that $20-$30. And honestly, like I said, you could DoorDash or something like that for the $20-$30 just to have that and be done with it. You know what I'm saying? So, and honestly, in college, like I borrowed friends' cars to go get something to eat or to go to the store or whatever. For you to make $20-$30, whether that is in 1, 2, or 3 trips or whatever it takes to get that amount, DoorDash and get that money for it, and then just get the light. And then it's like you can set a goal with your content or what have you. Start making money from the stuff that you're doing. Instagram has Instagram, TikTok, whatever. They all have these program stuff, including YouTube, for you to get paid, and not through AdSense either. That's the worst, one of the worst and lowest ways if you try to make bank, because then you're counting on views and stuff like that. It's way easier ways to do that. You know what I'm saying? Especially even if you did barter services for somebody. You got to think about this. You invested in a camera. That's a huge investment. So because that's such a huge investment, even people don't know the difference between the kit lens or something else or whatever, especially when you do a video outside. It's fall now. Take pictures for somebody. Do some short clips for somebody. Get them to pay you $10 or $20. Make a hustle. Create a hustle. That's what I did in college. I created hustles. People like, after I get asked a couple times on, can you do this or can you make this, or helping people study, helping people with research or whatever. I get it. Students are broke, but you ain't that broke. Because again, we still all waste money someplace. DoorDash, fast food, cigarettes, whatever. So that 10, 20 bucks is like, so what was like, one thing I noticed, for example, one hustle that I did, because my family's like, we grew up with doing janitorial contracts. And then if nothing else, everybody knows how to clean or should. And so one of the things that would be an issue was if you don't clean your dorm, you don't clean your student apartment on your way out or whatever, you don't get X or you get fined X amount of money. Ain't nobody wanting to do that. I didn't mind. So I put up a flyer. I decided what the price was going to be. And I was like, it's $10 if it's this, if you just want this done. Like, let's say, I don't know, the room and the common areas, like $10 for that. If you want the whole thing done, it's like 20, 25 bucks or whatever the case is, including like the bathroom, whatever, grout cleaning. I don't know. It's like, but I built an offer. Essentially, I didn't know that's essentially what it was though, but the same thing with business, content, whatever. I built an offer that made it was essentially irresistible. Just like, Dad, could I get, even if I asked such and such mom and daddy for another 10, 20 bucks that they probably going to send you anyway, or other family members, or if they had a job, which most of these students had a job, so they were tired. And so I made a hustle of, instead of you cleaning your dorm room, I will do that for you, or I'll clean the one that you don't want. And then people was like, well, what if can you just do the bathroom and the grout and stuff like that? Absolutely. Made up another offer. It's 40 bucks for the bathroom if it's bad. You know what I'm saying? I banked out, cashed out. Do you hear me? Because that was something that people didn't want to do. It was a pain point. Marketing works. It doesn't matter what. So you have to think, you have a camera. What are the things that people want right now that, because they don't have a camera, even if they got a phone, that they will want to do? That's something that they could pay you for. Is it other gym people around that maybe you see somebody always creating with their phone in the gym, but they're an adult that works a job someplace else, they're not a student? It's like, make a social media package for them and charge them 100, 150 bucks or whatever. It's like, I'll make the content. It's like, I'll edit it. You pay for a $15 service like Submagic and have AI edit it, because everyday people don't know anything about these tools. We do as creators. So put your skills to work. You have something, some kind of service, something, create a hustle, make a hustle, make some money. And then you will be able to get whatever it is that you want, even if you're a student. You just have to make it worth the time exchange for whatever it is that you're not able to do what you need to do. So go from there. Make a hustle. College is so fun. Ain't nobody knocking you for being a hustle, because they like, oh man, you're a college student. All right. Oh, you're a college student. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll do it because. So make a hustle. Shoot. Saying thanks for the advice. I got you. It said, actually, I'm from India and I was just frustrated that I'm not getting good shots, even though from a camera you helped me. Thanks once again. You're very welcome. Again, it's like putting a basketball into a LeBron James, Michael Jordan type person's hands versus give it to Mr. Whoever or whatever local kid in the neighborhood. It doesn't have the same value. But nothing wrong with the basketball. And it don't matter if you got it from the dollar store or, you know what I'm saying, a big box store or whatever. It may not be the best basketball ever. Put that basketball in somebody's hands that knows what they're doing. They're going to be able to make amazing stuff with it because the skills make the difference. So personally, I would tell you, don't think that just because you bought it right out the gate, it's just like, oh, I don't have to do anything. It just automatically looks amazing. It's going to look good and it can look great. But you still, when you make the investment in equipment, you also have to make investment into the time to make that equipment work for you. You also have to invest into learning that thing. So just beef up your skills. Because I guarantee you, if you put a kit lens, same camera in such and such hands, that's the creator or whatever that's more experienced, it's not going to matter. So like I said, I showed you the difference on the white balance, whatever. If I had to do a shoot, that's all I got. And I'm like, all right. And it's like, now I got to think. And it's like, I need to process because I can go into this experience different because it won't matter. But at the same time, when you have constraints like that, get creative. Don't get upset, get creative. So go from there. Saying Uncle Ben said, with great power comes great responsibility. Saying after that, I'm gonna be a drunk with power. Hilarious. What's up, Mr. Camera Junkie? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Saying, come on, I got the good camera. I can sort it out now. Do what you got to do. All right, so we've been rolling for right at an hour. I don't have anybody that said they want to come on for the camera clinic. They need help with their stuff. So we went through the tech stuff or whatever. Unless y'all have any other questions, I'm going to wrap the stream up here. Because I don't see none in the chat. I don't see none coming through. So let me know. Otherwise, we're going to call it good on today's stream. Because I already had decided. I said we do these streams. I'm not doing the more 5-hour energy streams. We're not finna be out here in these real and digital streets like that going for 2, 3, 4 hours. Not happening. So unless I see some more questions come in here, check my phone, then it's like, okay, yeah, I got 2.32 seconds to see if we got any more questions come in here, and then we'll go from there. Shout out to Mr. Camera Junkie out there hanging out with Uncle Peter Greg over in the Christmas room. So I'm on his YouTube channel. Shout out to you, Luis Vega, Prince Aiden. All right, so I'm gonna give a couple times, like say about 30 seconds or so for the chat to catch up to the stream in real time. Said, nope, I'm good. My day is done. I was going to go drink beer and eat jerky. It doesn't pay to not invest in yourself in better equipment that will save you time. That is a lesson I learned, I say like 2018, because I would be like, oh, I got time. Because I was like, I got time. I could do, I could spend the extra time for whatever that it takes to render out a program or whatever. And it was actually listening to a training by Shalene Johnson. I had bought a course that she had. And she said, if your phone is slow and it takes you forever to do this, or your computer is slow and it takes you forever to work and do something, she's like, what are you doing? She's like, go today and get a new phone, get a new computer, get a new whatever it is, and stop wasting your time, because your time, she's like, even if you have it right now, she's like, you're not going to at some point. And she was like, it makes sense to make an investment in yourself and your time to get your time back, because it's the one thing that we don't get more of. Hearing it out loud finally made it make sense. So that's why, for me, and it's, I guess for me also when it comes to cameras as well, it's like why I went ahead and it's like, if a new camera solves a problem that I've been experiencing, even if it's like not a major deal, I'm going to get it. So that's why I'm like, I can't go back to not having dynamic active state for the ZV cameras. I'm like, boggles the mind. If nothing else, I'm going to rant real quick and we're going to call it good. If nothing else, the ZV line of cameras, all of them should have dynamic active. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it because there's no reason why ZV-10 Mark II shouldn't have it. Okay, that's fine. The A6700's hybrid camera don't need it. Then it's not even a price thing because the A7C2 don't have it. Even the A7R and stuff don't have it. Boggles the mind. Boggles the mind. So ZV-E1 is where it's at for me because dynamic active state solves that problem so that I don't have to deal with issues in post or whatever. So that was a lesson I definitely learned. So I'm glad you brought that up, JFK. Production is like, it makes sense to solve those problems. Or if we can do this faster, those minutes over time becomes a waste of time. And it's like, oh, it's only an extra 5 or 10 minutes. Times that times however often you're doing that task over 2, 3, 4, 5 years. How many days and weeks of your life have you wasted then at that point? You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's like when it comes to certain equipment and stuff, it's like it's worth it to make the investment up for whatever it is, no matter how big or small it is. So what's up, Beating with Nicole Bees and hi, I watched the replay. Good to see you, glad that you're here. Said no question, just enjoying hearing everyone's pain points and learning. Appreciate that. Said no more 3-hour render. Hallelujah. That's hard business. Hard business. But I'm glad you're enjoying it now. Mother Oats, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying I switched from the Z6 Mark II to the Z8 because the autofocus is so much better and it does ProRes internal. Nikon's killing it. Nikon is killing it. Nikon, I'm concerned with how good they are. About to feel like it's going to be overnight and it's not. I'm concerned with how good Nikon is getting right now. And so it's questionable. But again, it pays because, again, that's one of the things. Again, I'm going to rant again real quick. Real quick. That is one of the things where, like, autofocus. And I see so many people's videos when I'm specifically watching for performance, if I'm just consuming somebody's content because I like it, I don't care what they film it on. I watch tons of video where that person is filming on their phone. The lighting is terrible. It's the room audio from the mic on the phone or where I just don't care because I'm not watching it for that, as long as it's not absurdly awful. I'm not watching it for that. I'm enjoying the content. I'm enjoying the community. I'm not there for, you know what I'm saying, judging it. But if I'm watching content and if every time I turn my head like this, if I'm saying how great this camera is, but it jumps to the bookshelf back there, and for whatever reason, it can no longer understand what a face is from the side. Like I watch, for example, Camera Conspiracies channel. He's been trying a lot of the Nikon cameras out. I can't remember which one he has right now, but it's like when he goes from that and then he switches to Canon, the Canon always bounces to the back. And I don't know, like I said, which is, some of it can be cameras. Sometimes it's the lens. A lot of these have been the cameras, and the lens doesn't help when it's not great. Fuji has that problem big time. That's why I was like, initially I thought my hardest decision would be between choosing to go with Sony or choosing to go with Fuji. And it wind up being Fuji just was completely off the table for me because the autofocus is so unreliable. People are like, oh, it can do it. It can do it. I'm not doing this during the stream. Like, you know, I don't, who does this all the time? It's like, that's not normal content. Nobody's going to come and do this but your kid or his spouse or somebody or his sister, you know, like sibling type stuff. Somebody come, oh, can they see? And that will probably not make the clip unless it's a vlog. And at that point, people don't care because they're watching for the content. But if I'm recording videos, glasses is something that some of these cameras have issues with. And so I feel you. It's like if the autofocus is that big of a difference, it makes sense. And I think for the Z6 versus Z8, it is a massive difference. Same with Panasonic. They are really good right now. But again, it's like I don't want to play with those occasionals because if I've been doing, which I often get paid to do, a course, a training or whatever, and let's say we're doing a live training, I don't need it bouncing to the back because we often publish those replays and stuff every time I change, like, oh, let me grab my pen or, oh, let me grab my water bottle. And it's bouncing to the back or it's having a freaking freak out moment. That stuff wastes time. And let's say this was a recording that we needed to publish and it wasn't going to be live, but it was a recording. I got to redo all that stuff. Don't matter how well you got your lines or whatever. So that's why. And people was like, oh, but this one and open gate this and blah, blah, blah. Merry Christmas to you. OK, and may the Lord bless you and keep you always. I hope you enjoy all of that because it's not worth it if it can't do the basics right for me. You know what I'm saying? So that's my opinion, my mountain that I'm standing on for that one, because it's like most of them had autofocus issues, but Nikon is starting to get uncomfortably so good. With some of the stuff that they're doing. So Panasonic and Nikon is going to be, I think, brands to pay attention to and watch in this next year, what have you. Saying, what's up, Sam? Good to see you. Glad you're here. Saying hi, Diana. We'll watch the replay. No question today. Heard that. Saying, what's a Nikon? I said, oops, I meant to say shout out to Nikon Red. They have my respect now. Again, we haven't heard a whole lot past them just owning the company, but they're not just going to sit on that. You know what I mean? They already use the Sony sensors, so they have access to good tech. What they do with that firmware wise, because Sony's not going to give them their autofocus. They're not going to give them, you know, some of the other stuff. So I'm waiting to see what becomes of that for real, when they drop the hammer. What is up? I'm the Brown out here in these real and digital streets. Man, I'm the Brown. Shout out to you. I just got the warm and fuzzies because you remember we would be on Monday Night Live with what's his name, Jason Vong, and that one camera guy. I miss those days. I miss those days back in the day. We'd be sitting on Monday Live enjoying the stream. So I'm the Brown, been around for a long time. I appreciate you, brother. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Mother O saying I could never use the autofocus for video for the Z6 II, even though it had 2 processors, it was still unusable. Most times, I can use the autofocus with the Z8. And that has saved me so much time, and I can film more. Again, great case in point. Because again, it's like those are those things that you don't see or aren't emphasized. I don't believe in bashing cameras, but I also do believe in being honest about that experience. So when people share some videos, some, not all, and I think everybody has good intentions overall, but when people share stuff, it's like there's so much that goes into testing something or that goes into that experience. Again, that's why I said, like, the doing this for an autofocus test, nobody, and I mean nobody unless it's a kid's channel playing peekaboo, is doing this for regular content. That's not normal. In my normal videos, I'm not going to pop from the bottom of the frame and then jump into the frame unless it's a vlog or you got a kid and they're playing or something like that. Type something. What usually happens is you turn your head and it can no longer see a face fully. And so it's jumping to the background, or it goes to the hair or the shirt. Or like I see a lot of podcasters that have this kind of framing, and it goes to the microphone. And so it's not on the face. Their face is blurry. And it's on, you can see like the back of the microphone is in focus, but not their face. Or if you have glasses, even if your glasses are dirty, you can't see the eye. It recognizes it's an eye, but the autofocusing system isn't recognizing. That stuff I can't play with, because that's time that's wasted on the back end of recording. That's just not worth it to me. That's why it's like I love Sony. I use Sony. But more importantly, I found a home with Sony because that's where I'm most comfortable. So I get it, being most comfortable with Nikon. And then the cool thing too, Mother Oats, is the fact Nikon is good with doing firmware updates. So it will probably only continue to get better on your Z8 over time because they're doing regular firmware updates. So it'll probably continue to be a good experience to the point to where eventually you can trust it more. In a scenario like this, where you do have something questionable autofocus, consider changing the zone type of the autofocus. Matter of fact, real quick, I can show you on possibly this, you know what? This daggone battery died over here, but I'm gonna show you this and then we're gonna call it a day. Change this battery out real quick. Thankfully, my charging station is right behind me. But if you change the zone autofocus on your Z camera, and it's pretty much similar software-wise. Let me pull this other camera up so it's this battery is recognized. So let's go over here. So in your autofocus settings, you see the focus area, and it goes from wide to zone, and then it goes down to center. Most people pick center, but your face is not exactly center like that or whatever. So instead, what I recommend is pick the box where you can do the zone and then move the zone up to that upper region. And then just where these tick marks are, where's this other finger at? This way, these tick marks that you see, these white ones, it's only going to focus in this area, right? So that way it's not focused on your hands and your other movements or the microphone and stuff like that. It's focused on where the face is. Now, thankfully, this has the eye and face auto detection. So you see, if it can't quite see, so you see the face kicking in, then the eye or whatever, but it still can get the eye even with my glasses partially blocking it. Shout out to Sony. But if you do it that way, then that way, even with the autofocus on, it'll work a little bit better for you. So give that a shot and see if that helps you be able to trust your autofocus better on your Z8 and go from there. So they have my respect simply for the petty way and how they acquired Red. I don't think that was petty. That was a boss move. Not only did they win a lawsuit, but they just, I'm going to buy you. I want to buy you. And you know what? That is a boss move. But Nikon got longevity in the game. I think it would be a sad day for that brand to go out of business, but they going to have camera brands, all of them got to step it up to come to the next century of, like, we can't have M4 type computers, you know, Mac computers and phones with AI and all this stuff, and cameras. The only thing they say is, like, overall industry wise, like, better autofocus. Oh, you can, man, we improved the autofocus even more. Or now it's like 10-bit. Okay, everybody got 10-bit now. Thank the Lord. Everybody got unlimited recorded now, except for some creator cameras. And it's like, oh, okay, thank the Lord. It's like, but can we get some real deal Holyfield stuff? And then like Olympus level stabilization that should be across the board at this point. I think is my hope anyway. Saying, yeah, I remember them days. Saying you need to do that test clip with the throwback to the Entree Woman TV setting with the St. Louis Cardinal cap. You know what? A test with a throw. Yeah. That, see, only the old school will know about the old TV clip or whatever with all of that. Good days. But you know what? Sony could still hold up at that point. It could still hold up at that point. But, you know, we'll leave it there. Saying a petty boss move. I hear you, though. It was all good, fun days. But that's where I'm going to leave it for this week's Friday Live Helpcast. Thank you all for those that came out to the stream, whether watching this live or on the replay. Hope y'all got some value out of today's show. And if you loved and liked what you heard, make sure you hit that like button and that thumbs up. We'll be back next week at 11:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. Bring your questions, your concerns, or what have you. We're going to open up the live channel again. So if you have questions, you need to bring it on live, you can do so also. But with that, guys, live with passion. I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace out.